Hi, this is Lorraine, and I'm doing another video. If you'll give me a second to clear, center, and balance my energy, we'll get started. Okay, so there's a lot of construction going on around me, so you may hear it. And like I said, once I get started, it doesn't bother me, but it might distract you. Also, this week I've been pretty sick all week. Actually, not pretty sick. I've just been kind of laid out in bed. And I've just been going through this massive purging right now of stuff from my body. And so I've literally been in bed for 5 days, but I'm well enough to get up today, and I really felt it's very important to do this video this week, because if I don't do a video every week, then I fall behind and with information, and then next week's video will be like 2 hours long. I just feel like that's a long video. I think an hour is a long video, but anyway, so my voice is a little bit different. There might be more edits, because normally when there's an edit, it's because I've coughed, sneezed, or taken a drink of water. And because I'm coughing a lot, you might get more edits. So I'm gonna get started. I started a new journal, which is very unique. I love this journal. I was so happy to have it. Find it, and I got it started at January 6th, and I finished it May 2nd, which is extremely fast for me. That's 4 months. Normally I'll have a journal for about a year and a half, 14 to 16 months, and then I started excuse me, then I started this one, which I really like too, but I couldn't help but note, like, this emphasis is sun and moon, and this would be symbolic of, stars. And so to me, the message that came to me was, we are moving from a place of sun and moon, which is what fuels or feeds Earth, our planet, to a more universal or galactic star perspective, so a broader perspective. Humanity and Earth is expanding from just this idea that we are these humanoid beings living in isolation on this planet alone in the universe, with just our sun and moon and each other and the planets in our solar system, to this more expansive universal perspective. Okay, so I'm going to start reading. Uh, 4:30, April 30th. I was watching a romance movie, which I love. Romantic comedies and romance movies, I love them. I'm a sucker. And at the end of one of them was a line where they said, "Proof denies faith." And I think that speaks for itself, right? Proof denies faith. If you feel like you need something to be proved, then you lack faith. Faith in that thing, faith that it exists, faith that it's possible, right? And so it's asking for us, this is kind of asks us all to take a leap of faith. When I saw that or heard that line in the movie, it moved me very much, because I'm a person of faith. I was raised that way from a very young age, and I went through phases of my life where I had to question. I questioned God, because I felt like I had been through so much, and I was like, how could there be a God if a child is allowed to be hurt? And then, meaning myself, and then I had to go through this process of understanding myself and my role and my place in the universe, and so that shifts my perspective. It shifted my perspective. And my faith comes in that I am never given more than I can handle. So everything put before me is what I can handle, because I have something I'm meant to do, something greater than this existence that I perceive of, like Lorraine, daughter of August and Judy Camacho, as a child, a student, a worker, an employee, whatever it was, as a teacher, as an advocate, as a volunteer. Like, these are all the things that I do. But there's something greater that involves not only myself and the people around me, not only this world, but this universe as a whole, and my role and my contribution to this universe as a whole, and ultimately to this source energy, the creator of all things, which I am not only a part of, but I am, right? I am that thing. I'm not only a part of that thing, but I actually am that thing, and that's true of everybody. That's true of all of us, okay? We just need to move through the processes that we need to go through that will take us to this understanding, so we can understand this part of ourselves, this truth about ourselves, not this part of ourselves, this truth about ourselves, okay? So that was, like, if you think about that, that was just like this very simple line in this romance show that really, when I sat and thought about it, had so many profound messages for me. Okay. So during the editing of the last video that I did, which is dated, I don't remember. I'm not sure what the date is. 4/29, April 29th. During the editing of that April 29th video, this information came to me. The Zeta Reticuli and their housing units, I called that object or that thing, that they house their consciousnesses in a housing unit. If they are not contained within a housing unit, their consciousness will be released into the ether and reconciled with the divine consciousness. This is the construct they have created for themselves. But there is no separation. We are fully unified with the divine consciousness, living under the impression that separation exists. Living from the construct, this construct is living from innocence or ignorance, however you would like to view such a thing. It's like a toddler hiding from its mother behind a curtain where his or her legs or feet are sticking out. Yet the toddler believes it cannot be seen because he or she cannot see their mother. This is a belief rooted in their lack of understanding of the reality they are living in. So it's cute, like little kids, my son used to do it all the time. Mommy, find me, mommy, come find me, and his feet were hanging out under the curtain, right? So I knew exactly where he was. So I just pretend like I couldn't find him, and sometimes I'd find him, sometimes I wouldn't, and he'd be so excited if I couldn't find him, and then he'd laugh and giggle when I did find him. And it was just the game, that we played. But he thought just because he couldn't see me that I couldn't see him, right? And that's just his innocence, his lack of experience. It's his lack of exposure to the world, right? And that's an endearing quality of little kids, right? But at the same time, this Zeta Reticuli believes that if it releases its body, it puts its consciousnesses in these housing units, that it is keeping itself separate from the source, the divine creator, the creator of all things. And that's not possible because it's never truly separate from the source. We are all part of the source. We are all together, unified, create the source. But we're not separate from the source. We just see ourselves as separate from the source. We believe we're separate from the divine creator. But we're not. We're never separate. We're never apart. We are always unified, okay? I am everything, everywhere, and nowhere. I permeate all things, unified always, never apart. There is no separation, okay? It's a construct, okay? So this Zeta Reticuli believe that in their innocence or ignorance or their lack of spiritual awareness, that they're separate from the source, okay? They're separate from the creator of all things. They're separate from the thing that created them, okay? But that's untrue. And it takes these moves in evolution, these moves in awareness, in consciousness, our rising of vibration, our opening ourselves up to the possibilities, to come into this understanding, to know this as truth. And that's why they keep themselves at this lower vibration, because they want to stay here. They want to believe that they can control and maintain the reality that they have created, because it's the people on the top who are forcing and oppressing the people on the bottom to help perpetuate this fantasy, this idea, this construct that they've come to know or create. Okay, so from last week's video, Lightworkers going into darkness. So when I was watching the video last week, it was very difficult when I talked about being in the darkness, walking through the darkness, experiencing the darkness. And when I watched the video, it was very difficult. I could feel it in my body, the difficulty that I was having. I don't know if anybody watching it could feel that, but it was very uncomfortable for me. And so it's very uncomfortable to watch that video. Normally I watch the videos often and I get more information and I write, because I build on what I've done in the past. But that video is very difficult for me to rewatch. Okay, so I'm just gonna start here in my journal where I'm at, still April 30th. From last week, Lightworkers going into the darkness. We are like therapists for the divine consciousness. We go in to experience, explore, and determine the root of such behavior, thought, motivation, drive from such a dark place, then start working towards a resolution, healing. This is not just an experience for us. This is an experience for the divine consciousness. We are a unifying force, creating a unifying field. We are the healers. We seek, find, resolve, and heal. We are steadfast, committed, unstoppable, and driven in our thinking, maybe even stubborn and willful. Wherever we go, whatever we do, whatever we've been through, we always return to the heart. We are the light. We embody the light within. And so when that information came to me, it made me think of my repressed memories, like being molested as a child. I didn't remember that at all from my oldest brother. I didn't remember that at all until I was 21 or 22. I did remember like the custodian in my elementary school, Mr. Renfro, retired, and they had this new young guy come in. And he was like 20s, late 20s, like 27, I would say. And I was in third grade, second or third grade when he started. And I do remember him looking at me in a way that was unsettling and that was very desiring, or maybe lustful even, and it made me very uncomfortable. And when I was a kid, we used to take the attendance. There's no computers or anything like that. We took the attendance from the teacher to the office. So my teacher would ask one of the students who was assigned attendance to take attendance up to the front office. And then we could raise our hand and go to the bathroom, right, during class. But I never took attendance after he started, and I never went to the bathroom during class because I was worried that he could corner me because there was something wrong with him. You know, when I was giving him my lunch tray, because we didn't have all this disposable stuff, we had actually people who washed our lunch dishes and knives and forks. We'd have to clear our stuff and set them up to be cleaned, and he would take mine, and it was very uncomfortable. And so I made sure I was never alone at school. I was always with other students. I would always go to the bathroom during recess and so on. And then I had my dad's cousin's husband. So he's not blood related. Otherwise, I wouldn't go through that. I think it's important to make sure that it's known that he's not blood related. He tried to stick his hands in me and my younger brother's pants. And he had actually done something to my twin cousins right before that, and I witnessed it. And I ran out of the room before he did anything. And I told my mom, and my mom said, just stay away from him. So for a kid, first of all, that's a betrayal of trust, right? She didn't advocate for me. She didn't support me. She didn't do anything. She just told me to stay away from him. And it turned out, I found out as an adult that he molested one of my other brothers, a bunch of my cousins, his own kids. And so I'm telling you this because, and then let me tell you one more thing. When I was in high school, I was bulimic, and so when I was 14, and my mom forced me to see a therapist, and I was not happy about it, but I thought I was just trying to be skinny, right? I wanted to be skinnier, right? I didn't want to be, chubby or whatever. I don't think I was ever really heavy when I was younger. I was a competitive ice skater for 10 years, but I always had low body image because my oldest brother, was not nice. Always insulting. But, and so I went to see the therapist, and I thought I just wanted to be skinny. And through this, I think I saw him for about 3 months, he explained to me that bulimia is about control. So we talked about how my mom had these controlling things and tried to control lots of parts of my life. And so when I started to understand that, I could start to take control of parts of my life, so I didn't feel so helpless, so I didn't feel so overpowered. And but I needed him to talk to me, to explain to me that one of the symptoms or causes of bulimia is control, right? And so when I'm reading this part about we are like therapists for the divine consciousness, when we go into these dark spaces, we choose to go into these dark spaces, we are exploring this darkness and finding the root cause of it. Because sometimes the source, and I've had this source energy communicate with me before about how grateful it is for the work that I do. And there are others that do the same thing. We just go into these very dark spaces and we reveal like the root cause, the purposes of these behaviors that are occurring, okay? And so, like, maybe I liked the way I looked when I was skinnier from being bulimic, but I still didn't like the way I felt about myself, right? So how do I achieve joy in my heart and be happy with my appearance without being harmful to myself, right? And so the source energy is like, why do I exist? Why do I exist in this dark space? What is this darkness that keeps perpetuating within me? Okay? Because the source, the creator of all things, embodies both light and darkness. Okay? It is duality. It is wholeness, one. But it embodies duality. Okay? It created duality, the construct of duality. And this construct of duality exists within the wholeness, the oneness of unity. Okay? And so it asks, how can this exist within me. And so we, as divine beings, light workers, seek and find answers to these questions. That's what we do. We walk into the darkness. And what makes us very powerful is the fact that we can walk into the darkness, become that darkness, and find our way back to our heart, to center, to balance, and move ourselves out of the darkness. Okay? Let's see. So then I talked about the rape metaphor from the last video brings up one of many catastrophic components in our judicial system. The fact that someone can argue that a woman wearing suggestive clothing is a component in the reasoning or justification in a rape case reveals a catastrophic element in our judicial system. Reasonable assumption or not, to suggest a woman desires to be raped, even as a defense in a court of law, is rooted in darkness. If I may take this a step further, to say a hooker cannot be raped because of what she does for a living is equivalent of saying a Caucasian person is privileged merely because of the color of their skin. So just because a woman works as a prostitute and sells her body sexually doesn't mean that she can't be raped. Doesn't mean that someone can force her. The second you force her to do something that she doesn't want to do, that's rape. Okay? That's rape. It doesn't matter how you sugarcoat it. Whether you paid her or not, you can't force her. The second a woman says no, that's it. It's no. Okay? It's the same thing. You can't say a woman, the same way you cannot say that a hooker can't be raped, you can't say a white person is privileged just because of the color of their skin. I know so many white people who have been through so much, so many Caucasian people. I met someone when I was living, who was raised in Kentucky. When I was living in Tennessee, she was raised in an orphanage. And she has so much scarring tissue in her uterus because when she was 2 years old, she was raped. She had, a grown man had intercourse with her when she was 2 years old. And there was so much scarring in her uterus, she cannot have kids. And the emotional component of that, even though she can't remember everything, she has all the scarring tissue to show that that happened to her. And to say that that person is privileged just because they have Caucasian skin. So I'm only saying this, I don't want to upset people, but to say these things is very dark. Okay, it's very dark. And there are myself and many other light workers that go into these very dark places to reveal these truths. And so we can mitigate, reduce, and eventually extricate, I think that's the word I want, this thinking, this construct from this universe. And that's all part of unification. That's all part of reunification. Understanding duality at its most deepest level, both sides, the extreme of both, and then using that as a tool of self-awareness and finding your way back to balance and finding your way back to center, finding your way to unification. Okay? Five-two, May 2nd, 2023. Divinity, the source, the creator of all things, is all things. This energy embodies all things, all parts of duality, and those things created by the construct of duality. I embody all of duality. We all do. Nothing is pure light or pure darkness, good or bad, blue or green. We are variations of everything in constant flux. We are variations of everything in constant flux. The Dark Ages, Excalibur. The legend of King Arthur comes out of the Dark Ages. Okay. The message that comes to me, so I was sitting, and all of a sudden I see the beginning of the movie. I should have pulled it out. The beginning of the movie has like one of those explanations, like at the beginning of Star Wars, where it says, in the Dark Ages, or after the Dark Ages, or at the end of the Dark Ages, something like that. And then it has this whole write-up about, came out, you know, this legend of King Arthur. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, it says, I saw this in my head. I saw this in my head, and it said, the Dark Ages. The land was divided and without a king. And out of those lost centuries rose a legend. And so then came Merlin and King Arthur and Sir Lancelot and all that stuff, right? And so I'm having this vision, and then this information starts coming to me. The message that comes to me is the creation of this universe came out of the Dark Ages. At first, separation from unity. There was chaos, fear, insecurity, loneliness, defensiveness, confusion. What was this new and different thing? Perception, existence. This was the beginning of creation. It wasn't love and light, kumbaya, let's all get together and bake. It was brutal. How do we survive in this unfamiliar place, this unfamiliar existence? I'm going to keep going because I'm not sure where this went. I was sick, I think, when I was writing this, but I had to write it down, and then I'll kind of go back and review it. From the last video, when I was editing, it wasn't the section titled In and Out of Phase that was difficult. It was the section titled Wounded Healers that I found challenging to write down and discuss. The reason being, I had to speak openly about my own experiences with duality. When the message came in about the Dark Ages, the message for me was clear. We have all experienced the darkness. We have all been the darkness. Nothing is pure light or darkness. We all embody both. There are so many things I have been through in the moment. I would ask myself, how did I make it through that? And often now I look back and wonder the same thing. There are many things I have not brought up in any of my videos that come to mind, but the message that comes to me is experience. My experience with the darkness, being the darkness, and being victimized by it. Okay, I gotta go to my other journal. I guess the greatest concern with discussing this part of myself was judgment by others. What came to me was, this message wasn't for those people. This message is for those in it, right now. This lifetime was not a lifetime of war for me, but I have fought in many in past lives. This life was about victimization, finding my way out of it from love, then finding and maintaining my balance. As I've said before, my experience in this lifetime affects all my lifetimes across space and time, and all my other lifetimes affect this one. And so I've talked about this in past, every time, every step I take towards raising my vibration, moving to center, existing in balance, every epiphany, shift, change, it affects all my lifetimes across space and time, because everything is happening simultaneously, right? So this gets confusing when we talk about past, present, and future. But so I had to reconcile how, if everything's happening simultaneously, can I build on experiences from past lives up into this lifetime, right? How is that possible? If everything's happening simultaneously, how can a past life from 600 AD affect me today? Can I utilize that experience from 600 AD today if all time is now? And so the answer is because every moment that I work towards raising my vibration, creating change, affects every other moment across time. So as I do that across space and time, as I do that in each lifetime, happening right now as I work towards raising my vibration, not only are my experiences in this lifetime affecting all other lifetimes, but those all other lifetimes are affecting my lifetime, okay? Simultaneously. So everything is rising, not just Lorene today, what is it, May 5th, 2023, but also Lorene in some Roman war in 600 AD, in Spain or in Germany or anywhere else on the planet, right? I'm raising my vibration. I have experienced many lifetimes of extreme violence. I have experienced many lifetimes where violence was perpetuated against me and everything in between. How did I get out of the worst situations I've been in? Experience, not just from this lifetime, but past lives. When someone has, so this is an experience that I have where someone tried to kill me. When someone has their hands around your throat and you think they're trying to kill you, you start feeling like I started feeling like I'll never get married, I'm never gonna have kids, this is it, my life's over, right? And your first inclination should be to fight back, right? Wouldn't it be like start kicking, screaming? How did I have the wherewithal to know there was still air coming in and to stay calm? Why didn't he finish it? If I fought back, would he have felt like he needed to completely dominate me and kill me? Did my passivity in the moment help? How would I know to stay calm? Why didn't I panic? Past life wisdom. Even though I've been through a lot in my life, the situation was unexpected. I didn't see it coming. And I do not feel like I should have had the skills to deal with that scenario. If I think about what I've been through in this life, and I have been through a lot of stuff in this life, and I have a lot of street smarts, but I'm still not sure, like, should I have known, how did I stay so calm? I'm not sure how, and I've had other scenarios when I was 21, and younger and older, where I was just able to stay so level-headed and calm and deal with the situation. I just don't understand. I just don't feel like I had enough life experience to do that, to know that. I was molested by my oldest brother. Those memories were repressed until I was 21 or 22. How did I know how to deal with our new custodian in elementary school and my dad's cousin through marriage before I was 10? So I told you those stories before, right? I'm not sure how I knew not to be anywhere where I was alone, right? How did I know, how did I have the wherewithal to run out of that room? Because normally kids will submit to an adult, right? Or someone older than them. How did I know to how did I have the courage to do that? Wisdom from past lives. I was too young to know or understand what was happening the first time I was molested. So when I was by my oldest brother, I was very young. And so I don't think I really had a clue that that was not okay. okay, or normal. I'm sharing this because there are so many beautiful souls who have been through so much. I don't believe it is the judgment of others that keeps them in a defensive state or fear-based thinking. I feel like it is the self-loathing for what they have done that keeps them stuck. So, and I do, like, I have a lot of, when I was younger, 21, I did not think I was pretty. I thought I was ugly. I thought I was, and my oldest brother was not very nice. He did not say nice things. He was not one to give compliments. He was always cutting us down. And so I had a very low self-image. My dad treated me like a princess, always. But when he wasn't around, my oldest brother was just like laying it in all the time. And so there's a lot of fear, insecurity, undervaluing or feeling no value, all those things. How you see yourself is how you reflect yourself out to the world, right? Like our consciousness, our mind, our thinking, what we put out is what we bring back. What we put out is what we receive in return. So if we're putting out all this negative stuff about ourselves, that's what we're going to be getting back, right? If we think that we don't deserve better in a relationship or a job or from our family, we'll never receive better back, okay? And if we don't behave in a way that reflects that we deserve better, then we'll receive that, whatever we're putting out, back, okay? We are in some ways our own worst enemy, but it's something that we work through. That's what these lessons in life are about, working through. Finding that center, finding that love of self, regardless of what other people have tried to lead you to believe about yourself. Knowing that we were perfect at birth, knowing that we had things that deviated us from understanding that perfection. And knowing that if we can release all those traumas, those negative thoughts that have been planted in our head, if we can find our way to releasing them, we can come back to that perfect place, okay, of understanding of who we are, that we are beautiful, that we are love, that we are unconditional love, and we are capable of sharing that with others, the world around us, all energy, the universe around us, okay? Okay, so no one stands 100% in the light, not even divinity, the source, God, the creator of all things. We have all been through it. We are asked to find our way back to our hearts, to balance. And so just so we know, so you understand what I'm saying, divinity, the source, the creator of all things, God, is all things. So it embodies both light and dark energy, okay? So that's why I said that. And I know some people might be offended by that, but we have to understand and receive and accept that truth so we can start to heal, okay? Because the shadow side inside within us is the shadow side of divinity, the source, the creator of all things, okay? These beings, these energies, these people I am feeling, I am thinking about, we are really good at moving back to center. Through our hearts, these beings, these energies, these people I am feeling, I am thinking about, we are really good at moving back to center through our hearts. First, we need to release the traumas, what has been done to us, and what we have done to others. We have moved into the heart of darkness for a purpose. In the beginning, in the dark ages, we were the first to awaken. We found our way to our hearts and led by example. This has become our journey through this universe. We take on the most arduous tasks because we prove time and time again that we know separation is a construct. The unconditional love of unity is our true homeostatic state. Energies like the Cabal have not learned this lesson or come to understand this truth, but it is always us who addresses this unbalanced energy. Throughout time, whenever dark or unbalanced place Throughout time, whatever dark or unbalanced place we've ever walked, we find our way out by reconnecting to our hearts. We do this through the flow of energy, karma, attraction, abundance, etc. We are very adept at using the spiritual laws to fulfill our paths and purposes. We work as a unit, even though we may not always be standing right next to each other. No one's ever left behind. I am continuously working with and within the flow of energy. I am working towards creating the change that is needed on this world to create balance. We are a unifying force, creating a unifying field. So when I started, this message came in, it was about the Dark Ages. It was very much primordial energy. It was very much, and so in a past video, I can't remember which one, I talked about 7 pillars, and I thought it might have been referring to the 5 pillars of Islam. I was like, maybe it's 7, I don't know, but it is 5 pillars of Islam. So I'm like, well, that can't be it. After I made the video and everything, but it came back again, 7 pillars. And when this information came in about the Dark Ages. And so what happened at the very beginning, when there was first separation, there was only 7 pieces, I guess you would say, of separation. And what I saw were titans, okay? And so I read about the Greek titans today, and I'm like, that's not it. But I want to say the energy of this primordial, foundational energy of creation is 7. And there were 7 energies that were created from this initial separation, this place of separation. So Divinity separated itself into duality, but also created 7 separate consciousnesses to begin the process. And at first, when Divinity was first separated into 7 pieces, there was fear. I wrote about it here. Fear, anxiety, stress, defensiveness, aggression, because here I am separate, and now what? I need to protect myself, right? All these new things were starting to come to these 7 beings, and it was incredibly violent. It was incredibly aggressive because there was so much fear. The first place we went was fear. And so even though at a moment of creation, when Divinity is like opening that egg, I've talked about the egg and how our conscious minds reflects this a perception of this reality we want to create, right? We want to create this truth, this world, this universe, right? And then as the egg opens, that reflection from our thoughts is projected out into the universe, right? But when I talked about timelines, we talked about timelines, and I said there are no timelines, there are only possible realities. People were like, oh, we're shifting timelines. We're not shifting timelines. We have every thought, every word, every action creates a different possibility, right? So like I said, I use this as an example, going on vacation. I want to go on vacation. So I've determined I'm going to go to, let's say, Hawaii, okay? And then, so I'm going to Hawaii. I have all these things I need to think about. How am I going to travel? Like by plane or by boat, right? Which island am I going to go to? Which hotel am I going to stay in? What am I going to do while I'm there? All these things, right? And so it's not until I make a final decision, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to go to this island, I'm going to stay for this long, right? That those things start to coalesce, but they're really not coalesced until I do it. It's not a reality until I step onto that plane and I start flying. It's not a reality until I've gotten off the plane in Hawaii. It's not a reality until I've made my way to the hotel, that I'm going to stay at that hotel, because anything can happen to change the future outcome, right? There could be a hurricane, there could be an accident, they could have overbooked the hotel, they could have overbooked the plane, right? All kinds of excuse me, all kinds of things could all kinds of things could change the future outcome, right? And so when Divinity created duality, there was a perception of what might come, but there's no way to guarantee that until it coalesces, right? So we have these 7 pillars, foundational components of the universe that were created, and there was an incredible amount of violence that happened out of fear and insecurity and confusion, disorientation, right? There's a lot of confusion and disorientation. They've never been separated like this from that source energy, okay? From their root, they've never been separated before. And so everything's different. All the perceptions, all their senses, how they're seeing things, because they're looking at each other through a different lens from separation, okay? And I don't know if there's any other way I can explain that, because I can feel it, I can see it, I know it. Like, all my clairs are on fire right now, but I can't really share that with you. All I can use is these words. And if you could tap into your heart, maybe you can feel it intuitively, because I'm feeling it very strong in my energy field. So if you can tap into that, you might be able to feel that. But it's very chaotic, very chaotic. And so this state existed for, I don't know, a millisecond, a million years. I don't know, because there really is no time. But it was those titans, or those energies, that were able to find their way back to their heart and reconnect with that part of themselves, and understand their true divine source energy, that part of themselves that were the first to evolve and transcend, okay? And so I was one of those titans. And so I have a view of who those other energies are. I don't know all of them, but I was one of those. I know that. That was clearly communicated to me. And that's why I have very profound experiences and very profound path and purpose. But from each of these titans, we fractured also and became fractals of the source. So the source didn't necessarily fracture itself into what it is today, okay, what we perceive as the universe today. There was a slow process of dividing itself, because the source is all-knowing, right? Sort of omniscious. But in this journey of exploring itself to find out what it could potentially be, there was a clear path that it was taking, baby steps, to figure out who it could possibly be in this new version of itself, okay? And so I don't have much more information other than these 7 pillars that I would also associate with titans, because it's just this primordial powerful energy, these 7 primordial powerful energies. That's why I call them titans. They're not truly titans. There's no association with Greek titans, none at all, but just this very powerful primordial energy coming from that, okay? Okay, so I'm going to go 5-3, May 3rd. Our vibration is rising. Excuse me. Our vibration is rising. There is a very specific vibration being sought by Mother Earth and the divine to complete or fulfill transcendence on Earth. There is much fine-tuning being done. I discussed this in the last video dated 4/29 in the in and out of phase section. This fine-tuning comes solely from looking within. It comes from the consciousness. Anyone asking you or guiding you to look outside yourself for answers is misguiding you. Everything you need lies within. If you look within, acknowledge your inner divinity, receive divine guidance to your path and purpose, then you do not need to go anywhere to seek enlightenment. You do not need to pay anyone to tell you what you feel you need to know or where your path and purpose lies. So, excuse me. If you look within, you don't need to look outside yourself to find the answers. You don't have to find someone to pay to tell you what you need to know. You don't need to look outside yourself to have someone tell you what your path and purpose is. Like, I would never tell someone what their path and purpose is. I would help them find the way to connect, give them tools to help them connect to their heart, to their higher self, to the source of creation, to receive the messages themselves. But it is not my place to tell someone what their path and purpose is. That is part of our journey, is finding our path and purpose. We are social beings. At a healthy state of mind, we gravitate to one another. We engage and support one another. That is natural, but we should not be directing others. Allowing others to direct our thoughts and discussions and decisions is what brought us to this place. Once again, Mother Earth and the Divine are seeking a very specific vibration for transcendence. Our vibrations will draw us together. That vibration has determined path, purpose, and next steps. Your words, actions, intentions determine your vibration. What do we need to become to create not only the change that this world needs, but the change this universe needs? What did it take for those titans, so those 7 pillars, to find their way out of the dark ages of the universe without a guide? The answer is they had a guide. They only needed to look within to find it. Those who were the first to awaken in this universe are seated here on Earth. We have been tasked with the transition of Mother Earth. We are free from the prison of the mind and cannot be manipulated. This journey is challenging. We know people want easy, tasty, pretty, comfortable. There are those moments, but there is also work to be done and lessons to be learned. 2 of the greatest lessons are acknowledging your inner divinity and prioritizing the greater good. These 2 things are not easy. First, you must acknowledge all parts of yourself, the balanced and unbalanced parts, the light and dark. Then, loving yourself fully. You must place the wellness of the whole before the self. That doesn't mean giving handouts to less fortunate. That means everyone has a high quality of life. It means serving your fellow beings, your world, and all parts of it. Stewardship. We don't sit in castles and give our leftovers or unwanted things to the lesser masses. We dig ditches together. We help care for our children as a community. We farm, cook, and feed one another. We must be a community that puts the whole community first, not the self. Then we honor our impact on other communities and support them from a balanced place. We honor and respect our inner connection. This requires a release of the ego, of fear, and the constructs of this world. There is a process of vetting and culling occurring. So I just had some information about the lunar eclipse, which happened today. I'm in the United States, so we didn't see it, but it did happen early this morning. But last night at 10:53, I didn't write the date. Last night at 10:53, I had a vision. My art is not very good. I have two things. I guess I'll do a picture-in-picture also. But I had, there were white clouds. They really weren't swirling, but they were kind of parting. And I can't describe it. Seattle has some really beautiful clouds in the sky, and they almost always look outlined because the sun seems to reflect from the back of them, and they have this beautiful like silver lining around them, and so you can see them very clearly, and so these clouds were just kind of together, but they were layered, and then there were these two pillars coming out of the clouds, huge pillars of light. And then, okay, if you look at this, you can see the scale. I'll do a picture-in-picture, but you can see a scale of the buildings. So this is that's a piece of land that's being pulled up out of the earth. And the buildings, they're this big, so and that's how it looked in my mind. And so it's miles across, and it's miles deep, this land that's being pulled up out of the earth. And this is the earth. And I wrote here, it looked like a section of land was removed from the planet. It was being brought up into the clouds. The top side was cityscape. So across the top of the land was cityscape. And so this is about, this is the divergence. This is the separation of, I want to say those transcending and those who will be moving to another world to repeat this cycle and to learn the lessons that they have not completed in this on this world in this lifetime or in these lifetimes. And that was a feeling that came through as I was drawing it. So I had the vision, I woke up, and I just started drawing it. The other one I had in the morning, yesterday morning. I don't want to show you this. I'm going to show you anyway. It's so bad. Oh my God, it's so bad. It's hysterical. It's supposed to be a hand picking up a string. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was so bad, but I couldn't draw it. So I'm laying in bed, and all of a sudden I have this vision of this big hand coming into my room and like grabbing a piece of string and then pulling it out. Like just, so it's like a little loop, right? If the string is like a little loop, I'll do a picture-in-picture. This is so bad. I'll try to clean it up, but oh my God. So the string is like, I have string, I should have brought some, but it's just like a little loop and it crosses at the top. And I was thinking of It's a Wonderful Life. So the uncle who runs the Billing Alone with Jimmy Stewart's character, whose name is I can't think of right now. He's always putting strings on his finger. When I was a kid, or back in the 50s and 60s even, people would put strings on their fingers to remind them of stuff, right? And so I saw this string, and I'm like, what could that string be? What is he doing? It was a huge hand. It wasn't like a little hand. It was like the size of like 6 feet, and it just came in, pulled the string out, and then, so as I'm trying to figure out what it is, I see this uncle's with his strings on his finger, and so what someone said, pulled the string out of my room, and I can only think that there's something that I don't need to worry about anymore. Okay, there's something that I talk about my disciplines, things I do all the time. To maintain clear, centered, and balanced energy, to work with the planet, to work with Mother Earth and the fields. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff I'm doing. The children, there's a whole bunch of stuff I do. I'm working with energy all the time, consciously and unconsciously. And so they're like, oh, there's one thing that you don't have to worry about. So I guess there's one thing that we've finished, I guess. One thing that's been completed. But I feel like it's for me personally. I think it's, there's a lot of stuff that I've been dealing with personally. And so part of this purging that I'm going through right now is personal stuff. I've talked about stuff with my daughter, I've talked about stuff with my ex-husband. And I think it has to do with career, living situation, relationship, and all three of those. I think it has to do with all three of those, and I feel like they're like, okay, you don't have to worry about these things anymore. I'm not sure the specifics, but a lot of times I don't worry about the specifics. I don't worry about the specifics because that can lead you down rabbit holes, spiraling. And so it's more important for me, and I've always been a universal thinker, it's more important for me to look at the big picture and see how those shifts are happening. And so that's the end of my journal. I'm just going to take a second. And so I'll just say also, now you see why the stars. I think those titans, that vision of the 7 pillars, that's about primordial, be the beginning, you know, the beginning of our existence, the beginning of this universe. And I think that's coming up right now. And I'm getting information on that right now because we are in a massive transitional phase. It's a massive, massive transitional phase. And this planet is so important, which I've brought up many times before. But there is and that's why I think that message about the very specific vibration that needs to exist on this world is coming in. Okay, so, because there's no room for deviation. You can't go back to your old dark ways. It has to, and that's not saying that you have to be perfect. We always move in and out of center. Like when my ex-husband was, you know, basically he never said it. But I said, so are you not going to help pay for an attorney to advocate for Desiree? So are you not going to help pay to send Desiree to private school? No response. So there was never a response. And, but he did say, you can't tell me how to spend my money. So those moments, like when I'm having those interactions, I can go to a very sad, somewhat unbalanced place, angry, resentful even. But I always bring myself back to center. And there's someone I met on Facebook. I don't know them. I've never met her. But she posted something, and I'm going to share this with you because it's what I do now, and it's fabulous. And normally I would just come in and clear my energy and center myself. But she suggested in a post that when you're feeling out of balance and you're going to that dark place and you're feeling panic or sadness or anger or resentment, she's like, breathe in love and breathe out trust. Breathe in joy and breathe out compassion. And I'm telling you, I love it. I love that. And I use it all the time now. And I'm so grateful. And I did thank her. And I gave her a big heart. I gave her a heart, and I gave her hearts in the comments and everything, and I thanked her. But I do, and I change it a bit, you know. It's not always love and trust. Sometimes I breathe in love and breathe out joy, you know. But it's always about staying in a centered place, feeling love, feeling trust, having faith, right? Breathe in love, breathe out faith. Breathe in joy, breathe out faith. Breathe in happiness and breathe out trust, right? Whatever it is, just move yourself into a positive place. The breathing is what clears the body, the emotional body of this whatever toxic thoughts that you're having, right? The breathing in, excuse me, breathing in and releasing, excuse me. It's the breathing that clears the emotional body. It's when I clear my energy, that's when I'm clearing my aura. and I'm clearing fields of energy, right? And I can clear my body also. Anytime you're working with energy, you're working with all energy. And so we are physically made up of energy, right? So I can clear my body, clear my aura, clear the fields around me, outside of me. I clear my person, my space, the surrounding areas. Always when I'm doing my videos, I'm working constantly on clearing the planet. I'm using energy to do that. But when the breaths come in, that's working directly with the physical form on this plane of existence. And so that is just beautiful. I love that. It's just my favorite thing. And so just think of positive words. It doesn't have to be love in, trust out, joy in, compassion out. It can be whatever you want, but stay positive and breathe the things you want to breathe into your body. Okay? You want to create that flow in and out of positive, loving energy. Okay? Positive, reinforcing energy. Okay? So I'm going to take a second and see what comes. So I think that's it. I'm sorry if some of this was difficult to hear. Maybe I should put a disclaimer in the beginning of the video, but I know I talked about some pretty deep stuff that might be triggering. I feel like this whole conversation about those first 7 pillars or the Titans might be difficult for people to receive, but that's okay. I think it's most important for people to start connecting to their intuition, right? Connecting to their higher self and to the source through the heart to receive the messages that tell them what they should, what they need to know, what will help them on their path and purpose. That's most important above all things. Not necessarily what I'm saying, especially if it doesn't resonate with you, but this journey is individual in that sense, but it's also universal and interconnected in the sense that we are all connected continuously. We are everything, everywhere, and nowhere. We permeate all things, unified always, never apart. Okay, so this is a unifying endeavor. Okay. All right. I think that's it. Thank you.